Afternoon. Good afternoon. Wow, I've never been to Puncak Alam before. I'm not Malaysian, by the way. In one university I went, people thought I was from China. In another place that I went, they thought I'm from Africa. I'm not joking, this is real students' reply. I've been to the Shah Alam campus. The further I have been this side is I've been to Puncak Perdana. You all have your diploma students there. I've been there twice, thrice, beautiful place. Puncak Alam never, first time, but when I come here I go, wow. And Peter, my colleague, was just commenting that this looks very colorful. The seats, your clothing, so I'm actually blinded, I can't see any faces. I don't know about you all, but I can't see faces at all. Right, the reason why we're here for this panel discussion, employability, as it says, bridging the employability gap. Well, it's actually the title is not bridging the employability gap. We call it ready for business. Right? Ready for business, bridging the employability gap. What does that mean? We have spoken to employers around the world. We have even spoken to employers in Malaysia, we've spoken to employers in Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and even in Myanmar. And some of the feedback they have given us is that they want graduates to be ready for business. Walk in day one knowing what to do. And most times that's not what happens. Not only from a graduate perspective, even from our perspective. There's always a gap. What we are trying to do with this esteemed panelists, and I have to tell you, you're very lucky if you know the type of organizations they run, know the type of budgets they have, know the type of resources they manage. They have a lot of things that are going on in their area. For them to take away their valuable time on a Friday evening means a lot. And we are very lucky at the same time. Why? We're getting to meet you. If you met me 3 months ago, all these gentlemen will say that I had a lot more hair. My hair went for a walk and never came back. I have decided to chop it off completely. Why? I want to feel young. At the back you will notice a small balding spot which one hairstyle is trying to look at, don't. So, I decided to chop it off and look young and feel young. So when we are lucky in that way that we are in the midst of you young generation, the next set of CFOs, CEOs, it makes us feel very, very young. When we leave today, we feel about at least 20 years younger than what we are. Panelists don't seem to agree, they think I'm older than them. Right, what I'm going to do is, the session is going to be very interactive. And very interactive means, in Malaysia, people are shy. Yeah? Ask question, don't want. It's like contact lens small and look down. Then accidentally, if you caught my eye, you look up, you go, oh no, he's looking at me. What to do now? Then I've seen many people, what they do is look at my friend. Ask him. Can we avoid that? Right? I always notice in Malaysia, one thing happens when we finish a session like this and walk off, all of you all are like going after each panelist and saying, hey, I need to talk to you, I have a question. But I believe in a concept of living in a very unselfish world. In a selfish world, the question that you have may be the question everyone has. So if you ask that question, everybody can benefit. And there's no such thing as a right question, wrong question, stupid question, none. A question is a question that needs a clarification. So I need this agreement with you. If I don't have this agreement, I'm taking these 4 people and going and having a tetare outside. Right? Correct? Correct? We need a contract. We are having a contract, we're going to talk, but we need a contract from you all that you all are going to ask questions. Can we agree on that? Yes. Can we agree? Yeah. Can we agree on that? Yes. Brilliant. So apologies for the delay. I have to apologize to the panelist, not to him, he was with me in the car. We had a lecturers forum in the morning, which lecturers took a lot of his time asking questions, so we rushed here. And we had Christine, a person who was navigating, first time for her in Puncak Alam, the lady with that camera there. So she did a very good job of getting us here. My name is Venkat Ramanan. I'm the head of Southeast Asia for CIMA. I'm a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I'm a management accountant myself. My role is to grow CIMA in this region. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the panelists to quickly, in 1 minute, and when I say 1 minute, 1 minute, introduce themselves, what their names are, what they do, and one interesting thing about them that y'all don't know, and I don't know. I already know all of them, okay? So I'm going to start with the ladies first, because I respect that lady very much, so I'm going to give it to Pon Yasmin first.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon to everyone. Okay, my name is Yasmin binti Muhammad Ramzi. What is it? Yasmin. Thank you, you stay awake. Good. Okay, so it's tough, no, to make sure that everyone stay awake in the evening. So, as our colleague has introduced just now, I was the group CEO for Richworks. Prior to that, I was with Shell for more than 14 years in the finance function. I'm a fellow chartered management accountant, like Venkat as well. And one thing that you might want to know about me is that okay,
Interesting, huh?
Okay, interesting, huh? Alright, so I was I'm not sure how interesting is this, but I was a master in chess championship before. Yeah, sounds nerdy, but anyway. Yeah, so when I was in primary school, yeah, I won so many, you know, all these games, and yeah, too bad I couldn't continue with my chess championship to match with the champions from Russia, and decided today to pursue in chartered management accountant so that we can support and help you to grow. Okay? Right, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
She's active on Facebook as well. I don't know to play chess. I tried playing chess with my brother. Every time I do something, he says, checkmate. I said, what la? I just started. And he said, no, checkmate. I gave up. My colleague, Scottish origin. I've done that introduction. All over to you, Peter.
Good afternoon. So my name is Peter. My surname is Stewart. So in the UK, that's two first names, one after the other. So I very frequently get called Stewart by people, and I have to remind them that's Mr. Stewart, so Peter, and occasionally people call me Patrick as well, which is, I don't know if you know who Patrick Stewart is. There's an actor called Patrick Stewart, yeah?
Very old.
The Star Trek one, and he's got a hairstyle a little bit like Venkat, so I get all sorts of strange names assigned to me by accident, and then occasionally people call me names on purpose as well. But no, my role within CIMA is Director of Learning, and what this means is that I have colleagues who work in examinations in the syllabus, and they develop exactly what it says there. They write the exams, they develop the syllabus, and then it kind of gets handed over to me, and I've got to make sure that students can get through these exams using the syllabus. So, as Venkat says, I work a lot with tutors and make sure that they're comfortable with how to train people towards the exams. Before coming to CIMA, I've been with CIMA for a year and a half now, but I worked as a lecturer for something like something years. And in those years, I ran CIMA training for one of the biggest course providers in Europe. So if you've heard the phrase, the poacher becomes the gamekeeper, I'm very much that. For 20, oh I said it out loud. For 20 years, I sat pointing my finger at CIMA saying, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And now I sit and have fingers pointed at me, and I say, look, we're trying to do that. So that's the role that I'm in. And well, I don't have an interesting chess fact, apart from when I was about 8 years old, I took it on myself to teach my school headmaster how to play chess. I was never near, I don't know what I was thinking, my mother still laughs about it, how precocious I thought I was. I would play like Venkat, I could do about 6 moves, I could never call myself a master. And the other thing is that, as Venkat says, I'm of Scottish origin. I've lived in England for more than half my life. And I'm in Southeast Asia for a week and a bit, and when I go back to the UK, I might well find that I'm not Scottish anymore, because they might have voted not to have me in the country. So I'll be looking for a new nationality next Friday. So if anyone will have me.
Thanks, Peter. One thing Peter did not mention to you is he was his #1 lecturer for the area of management accounting in England. Yeah. So when we got him, it was a good news for us because we got the best guy in lecturing management accounting. And at the same time, the market lost the best guy lecturing in management accounting. On my right, Mr. Wan Haslan, CFO Iskandar Developments, my good friend. I'll give the introduction to you.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. I'm Haslan. I come from Greek in Gulu Perak. Not Europe, yeah? Okay, I've been through a diverse set of experiences. My interest has always been in business, and I think that's how I landed in accounting. Although I was actually dabbling to become either a marine biologist or an aeronautical engineer. But eventually I chose accounting because of my interest in business. It started when I was still schooling. I was selling things to my friends during the primary school days. Selling stamps, selling coins and such stuff. And then when I was your age, I think during the first year or the second year break, I went into business. I started with a small store at Pasar Malam, selling tapai, and grew into Pasar Malam. And after a month, I decided to break into supermarket. If you know Giant Supermarket, they started with a shop called TMC in Bangsa.
Yes.
Yeah, so I managed to break into TMC in my second month of business. But unfortunately, I only have a 3-month university break. So after the 3rd month, I left the business to my friend's mother, who was actually the manufacturer of the tapai. I was only doing the sales. And after graduating, I went into a number of diverse industries. I went into auditing, I went into investment banking, technology commercialization. Quite interesting. Went into led a few projects involving scientific endeavors, including the commercialization of the omega-3 eggs. Now you've got chicken eggs being branded instead of just being a generic commodity product. You've seen commodity chicken eggs being sold at 20 cents a piece, but the branded eggs being sold at, I think, 3 ringgit, 4 ringgit, even 6 ringgit for just half a dozen. So it's about converting a commodity product into a branded product, but not just using science, but using entrepreneurship abilities as well as accounting skills. Yep. So that's how we can actually impart our knowledge into something productive, into something that can bloom into a commercial business. And then I went into properties at Tabung Haji, undertook a few projects, and after that brought me to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Over there, I was involved in listing a company which was developing a project in Medina. The listing was the biggest listing in the Gulf region in 2010. It rose, a company was capitalized at 3.3 billion riyal. And after Jeddah, I came back to Malaysia and worked with a company called Iskandar Investment Berhad, which is the logo that I'm wearing now.
Like the omega-3, he knows to brand himself, right?
If you know Legoland, EduCity, those are the projects that we develop. The company, Alhamdulillah, is doing quite well. Last year we managed sales of 3 billion. The year before it was 1.5 billion. So hopefully the company will continue to grow. This dua for me.
Thank you so much, Wan Hassan. Anything interesting you want to share about yourself other than branding and Pasamalam and teams and eggs and Legoland? At least he will make sure when you leave today, he'll give you one free Legoland pass, right? Right, thank you so much, Wan Hassan.
For what is interesting about myself, I will keep it for a secret for now. Anybody who's interested can come and see me personally.
He's doing the complete opposite of what I asked him to do. Finally, the person I have known most, I've lived in Malaysia for 5 years. And I'm 99.99% Malaysian. I have a daughter who's Malaysian, so I call myself 99.99. He's the person I have known the longest out of everyone. We had interesting conversations in lifts, in different buildings, in different rooms about everything, anything possible. He has come with me to Kedah, to different places when we invite. He loves to speak to the younger generation. By the way, both of them have done the same as well. I have to state that they have also come with me to different locations. So finally, Encik Ahmad Feroz, all yours.
Assalamualaikum. First of all, I'm none of the above.
Not a CIMA member, that's what he's saying.
I'm the odd one out, which makes it easier. I can say anything under the sun. 2, how many of you have seen me or met me? Good, makes my job easier. Since you don't know me, and when the recruitment site actually advertises, and when you sign up for the interview, that's when you come and see me. So why I say it's good is that I'm not biased. Or maybe I should just discount it. I'm none of the above, and I'm not a chartered accountant. And I'm only involved with, while my colleagues here, Wan Haslan and all that, are, how do you put it, users? People who actually would be hiring you, your hiring managers. I'm the one who puts you through the washing machine. Okay. So, and I term it that way, and I'm here to see through when we bring about candidates, is to see them through their accountant training programs with my organization. Okay. So, that's my role. So I will share as much, whatever I can, to help you prepare to perform. The university prepares you to start work, but not to perform. I don't know whether you realize the difference. Okay? Alright, I'll leave it up to them.
They look a bit worried. You're scaring me as well. Washing machine. Wow. Dry included? Right, thank you, Mr. Ahmed Feroz. The objective of today's session is for you all to get an understanding in terms of employability. What are the challenges? What are the requirements? You all are all 4th year. That's what I said. How many of you all are 4th year here? All 4th year. So you're going into employment very soon? Yes. All right. We have a long discussion today. I'm going to start it off with a lady, if you don't mind, Mr. Feroz. Remember the first day you went into employment after finishing all your studies? And looking back at now from where you were at that time, what are the things you wish you could have changed in terms of your perception before you entered?
Okay, thank you, Venkat. I'm blessed to begin with, Alhamdulillah. I was a Shell scholar holder those days. So I had my opportunity to do internship with Shell Malaysia trading in Damansara for 3 months. And that was the time where, for the first time, I was exposed to a real, workplace, real corporate life. The job that I did at that point of time was bank reconciliation. And I was like, what on earth? Using SAT? What is SAT? I'm like, for 3 months, it was really an eye-opener, because you thought that you learned so much. You spend like years and years at the university, right? With your exams and your accounting 1, 2, 3, and just name it. The first day when I stepped into the company, I was like, oh my God, this is just whatever that I've learned, burning the midnight oil for the past 4 years or X years. It's just like 1% or less. Just tiny. That's why Richard Ahmad Farah's sister was sharing about the university is preparing you. Was it preparing you? But yeah, when the moment you step into the workplace, you think that, my impression was I know everything. Within 3 years, 5 years down the road, I'll be the chairman of this company. I'll be the CEO of this company. Everything is laid down for me. I'm ready. But that's not the case. So until today, I remember that moment, Venkat. Until today, I remember the first day when I met my first boss. He's now a finance director in The Hague, Shell. He asked me, Yasmin, do you want to be generalist or specialist in finance? Because good news, in this area, you have a lot of options. You have many options. You can decide to be an accountant, or you can decide to be like Ahmad Feroz. You can ask Ahmad Feroz what he's doing. You have a lot of options, many options. So he asked me that. And then he wanted to copy a document. So I was thinking, a secretary will come and help him. No, he himself went to the machine, and he did it himself. I was like staring at him. Oh my God, he's such a senior guy, and he's doing all this thing on his own. So I learned a lot of things, which it didn't occur to me at all when I was in university. In the workplace, day one. So many things that I realized that learning is a lifelong thing. The day you stop learning is the day you better die. Serious. The day you stop learning is the day you die. So doesn't mean that by the time you get your graduate, your scroll, and like you know every single thing that yes, I'm done. No, it's just the beginning. And yeah, we're excited to hear from the rest. Yeah. It's the beginning.
Thank you, Yasmin. I'm going to come to you, but I have to go to this gentleman on my right first, because I have an interesting question. When we go through... no, that's going to go then he's going to get... So I'm going to quickly go to you, and I'm going to go to Encik Ahmad Feroz, and I'm going to come to Peter. An accountant's role. Now, Pon Yasmin's example was fantastic, because that's what everybody go through. When we leave a qualification or a program we learn, we say we've done it all. We're ready. We know 100%. And then when you go for the first day, it hits you. I don't know everything. My first job was in KPMG. They asked me to go photocopy something. I'm standing in front of the photocopy looking, what button to press? That's the expectation we have. I can relate to you. And this is to prepare you. As an accountant, and all of you are doing accounting? Yes. As an accountant, most people are technically trained. Debit, credits, ledgers, balance sheet, bank statement reconciliations, not my favorite area. Is it enough from a business perspective for you to run as a business leader and as a CFO? Do you want accountants to be just technically trained in accounting, knowing how to prepare statements, or is there more to that?
Thank you, Venkat. That's a very interesting question. Okay, I tell you my background in accounting. Yeah? I did not study accounting at all until the first year of university. None until my A-levels. I was taking Science Pertanian and Science and all that. And when I entered university, every single one of my classmates have studied accounting. And I struggled through the first year, because I didn't even know how to do profit and loss account, balance sheet, cash flow statement during my first year. But I got a different perspective. Because of that weakness, I developed storytelling skills. So I tried to cover my weakness in technical accounting by storytelling. So I became good at analysis rather than technical accounting. Now, in the real world, you have to have both. You have to have good technical capabilities when you start, but then as you grow through your career, you need to be good storytellers. You need to tell stories behind the figures. You cannot just present figures to the boss and say, okay boss, can you interpret yourself what this figure said? No, you can't. You've got to tell a story. And you've got to tell a story in a very, very interesting manner. And that's what differentiates you between being a normal accountant and just an outstanding accountant. Now, I'm sure all of you have have seen movies, right? Either on TV or in the cinema. Now, how does the movie start? What's the plot of a movie? Normally, it starts with a mundane situation, and then it goes through some drama, and then the hero or heroine would have to actually decide whether to go to an adventure. And after that, they went to that adventure, defeated the villain, and then you have a lull period before the finale. And then you have the finale where, let's say, the monster came up and the hero or the heroine have to go for one last battle before really happily ever after. Isn't that the normal storyline, the normal plot in any interesting movie?
Yes.
And when you write a storyline, don't you want to capture the attention of your audience? Yeah. So you've got to actually capture the story of your business or whatever figures that you're actually trying to tell a story on in an interesting manner. You've got to actually understand what's the plot behind the figures. Yeah. So master these two skills: the technicalities as well as how to tell the story behind the figures. I know it's easier to just be masters of the figures because we are used to just going through technicalities, but telling stories is more difficult. But it's a skill worth mastering.
Thank you, Naslan. I don't know what movies he's been watching. I've been watching Bollywood movies. You shoot, he doesn't die. You hit, there's no blood. You run around trees and 15 women will dance behind you.
That would work, Venkat. That would work as well.
I need to watch your type of movies and you need to watch my type of movies. What that gentleman on the right did not tell you is I don't know whether he did, Felda Global Ventures. You know how big they are? That's where he sits, in that tall building next to Manara Maxis, right? Petronas. See, he corrected me. He speaks to a lot of the business units and he also runs the management trainee program there. I want to ask you, Ahmed Feroz, when they speak to you from business unit to business unit, what are they saying are the big critical gaps that the management trainees have when they come into the organization for the first time? What are the significant gaps?
Communication. Not technical. We are all not worried about the technical aspect of it because obviously you've been ingrained or grounded with the technical abilities. But it is the softer side of things, which is your communication skills mainly. And I always tell trainees when they come on board, once you get through the hurdle, you've been recruited, to leave your degree behind. Because it makes no meaning. Today, all of you will graduate with Bachelor's of Accountancy. You know what? I could also prepare you as a cadet planter. Because we've got Bachelor of Accountancy who does great job as a cadet planter. I've just finished visiting them. Actually, I just arrived from Kuantan, visiting them. And what is going to differentiate you today? What's going to differentiate you today if you go for professional certification? 1. 2. What's going to differentiate you today? Unfortunately, what happens in Malaysia today when we advertise, a lot of you go to organizations because of the name. You also do not research about the organization and how is that you're going to fit into the organization. While you have information at your fingertips, because today you have smartphones. The smartphones are there, except for me, I'm not sure about my team. For us, or for me, the phone is smarter than me. We are still looking for instruction books to use the phone. You know, but you're so good at it. But despite having that accessibility, you don't even look up before you go for the interview. When we ask why you're applying, or because it's FGV. You know, what does FGV do? Not sure. A little bit about palm oil. You know? And I remember the day I go for interview, I would have researched before. Okay? So that shows how much you're eager to be a team player in the organization. On top of not having information accessible or made accessible to you, you also don't communicate well. Guess what happens? We interview about 40 to 80 per day, which is actually not good. Okay? So what we do is that we are trying to reduce the number. So you come in, you've got the verbal reasoning test, the numerical reasoning test. Hopefully your numerical stands out a little bit more than your verbal, but your verbal is equally important. Then we sift through, we screen, we filter, we get only those few. But still those few is about 30 to 40 people a day. It's a very tiring exercise. But you know what? In Malaysia, this is what my observation has been. When we ask questions, you know, for example, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Sad to say, quite a number of you turn around and say, boleh cakap bahasa Malaysia? Just imagine how we feel sitting on the other side. Then we probe further. It's not that because we want you to be superb in your English, but it is that we know that where you are in terms of your English competency, for starters. But worst of all, by the end of the interview, or the end of the day, guess what? Quite often we get so blinded because we cannot get what we want, we end up taking with the best talking person. Or the person who can best communicate. Not because so much about your degree. That's the sad part of it. Okay? So you've got to make sure that you are really prepared for it. You do not go for a job just because it's a job. You must remember that you're from Generation Y. You do best at what you want. Okay? So communication skills is very important. Okay?
That's the biggest area that you see. It's a good point. We also do a lot of interviews, and when we get applications being sent, at an early stage we notice the number of pages of CVs are this thick, including a lot of certificate. I went for Makan certificate, went had Tetare certificate. Everything becomes a certificate. When you go into your number of years of experience, you know how many pages your CV should consist of? 1. Or if required, go into 2. Peter, CIMA does a lot of work globally speaking to employers around the world. From a global perspective, I know we spoke from Malaysia's perspective and we're going to delve into that a little bit further. From a global perspective, what are the main areas of gaps when it comes to employability? What are they saying that the accountants don't have and they need to have?
Do you know, it's very much echoed in what's been said already. Is that there's acknowledgement, of course, that people need to have certain technical skills, the things that you're able to do, the debits, the credits, the reconciliations, and so on. You know, that's vital. People have got a job to do. There are things that need to be produced, and you can't produce those things without those skills. But the big outcry, I think, and this is global employers or national employers in different countries, is exactly the same. The storytelling, I was just listening to that thinking, that says exactly what we've discovered in our research in developing the syllabus, that it's not sufficient for an employer that somebody is technically accurate in adding up a bunch of numbers or presenting them in a neat way. They've got to be able to see how the results of that analysis will impact upon that business. And it matters whether it's a telecoms business or a manufacturing business, if it's a shipping organisation, if it's a healthcare organisation. The same set of figures mean different things. So you have to be able to interpret those figures into some kind of a story. And then on the communication bit that we were just hearing, again, you'd have to realise that as an accountant, now there's a very old black and white comedy sketch that gave accountants a terrible name. The Monty Python comedy team, they had a guy going in for a job interview or for career advice, and he was the most boring character they could come up with, and of course he was an accountant. Yeah? And this put the accountancy profession back by a good 30 years. And the guy, he wanted to do something exciting with his life, not be an accountant. He wanted to be a lion tamer. And the careers advisor tried to talk him out of it, saying, but it's very, very scary. And he said, no, I want to be a lion tamer. And he said, are you sure? I said, yeah. And he said, well, do you know what a lion is? And he said, yes, it's about that high, it's got a long pointy nose, and it eats ants. Yeah? You're thinking of an anteater. Anyway, that's by the by. The public perception of an accountant is somebody that sits in a room and bashes numbers. Now uses a spreadsheet to bash those numbers together, and as has been said, present something that is a summary of numbers. But we've got to be able to not just turn those numbers into a story, but we've got to recognise that we're at the core of a business. A business is there to do what? It's there to make profits, to make money. Yeah? There's figures in there. And we need to know, are we making enough profits? Can we make more profits? And what should we do going forward? So there's a very simple storyline that goes through there. And the other bit about the communication that comes into it that people are saying is, well, it's all well and good being able to write a story, but if you write the story that's not suitable for the audience, and your audience is your senior management team or your board of directors, who you need to influence to make decisions, then it's not a good story. So both things, the story behind the numbers and the communication of that story to the right level are things that we've been hearing around the world are vital for accountants in business, at the very least, to be able to develop.
Thank you. It's an important aspect. Sometimes we, as students, I'm saying I'm one of you this time, attribute is our personality. Sometimes we are shy. Yeah? Sometimes we don't want to talk. Just let the other person talk. If I tell you I was the most shyest person in school, I would not go to people and talk. I'll sit in the side and I will be very quiet. Questions asked? But one thing I critically learned when I stepped into an organization, it doesn't work to your benefit. There's something else this gentleman will do. I have seen him doing once before. But that's to tell you, you need to change your perception. The perception of what people see of you is completely different to who you are. Ponyasme, Shell 14 years. How is the role of accounting in Shell? What do they emphasize? What do they require accountants to do?
Okay, this is interesting, yeah? Of course, in any company, going back to what we were sharing just now, accountants or finance, we are business partners. We are not there sitting at one corner just to churn numbers, yeah? And some people call bean counters. Yeah. Sad to say, I've been exposed to various graduates or young people in the job place, be it in Shell or small medium-sized company. I've seen accountants who are really, really bean counters. What they do is they do AR, AP, bank recon again, report, send cash flow, and that's it. They know that few weeks down the road, there's not enough cash in the bank, for example, to pay to the vendors, yet there's no alarm, nothing. I just send report, I don't care. Yeah, it's just like have you watched Titanic? Yeah, you know the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, this time you know that there is a huge iceberg in front of you, but it's okay. I just report there's an iceberg. If the ship fall down, I don't care. That is the saddest attitude of any accountant. So be it in share or any company, yeah, or any organization, profit or non-profit, we have a big responsibility to play. We are a business partner, yeah. We have amanah, integrity, where we are responsible not only to understand the numbers, to have it accurate, to be able to, like what Asa was sharing just now, be able to share, to influence, to storytell, to communicate, to influence. We are responsible for the company or for the organization as much as the CEOs, the GMs, the rest of the leaders of the companies. Even if you're just an accountant, just a clerk, just doing AP, for example, just doing payment, you are as much as responsible as the most senior, because you are being trusted to use the fund of the company to pay, to use the money to pay. Yeah, going back to integrity. So being an accountant alone, CIMA accounting, is not just a ticket to do bean counter to do report. There are a lot of options outside, so many options. I'm grateful to God that not only I had an opportunity, for example, to be a management accountant where I do reporting, budgeting, planning, for Southeast Asia. After that, I was exposed to do corporate governance, risk management, Sarbanes-Oxley Acts. Have you heard about SOX before? Yes. Yeah? Where we have to do returns for those companies that are listed in the United States to give them assurance that the company internal control is in good order. So there's a lot of options. After that, I've been exposed. I challenged myself not only to do accounting stuff, but to really understand the business from end to end. That's when I explored in the insurance company to really manage a company from end to end. So I understand right from marketing, branding, trading, operation, customer service, etc., etc. So there's many, many options out there, not just in Malaysia, outside Malaysia as well. Yeah. For example, there was an opportunity I had in 2005 when I was working in The Hague, Netherlands. As an accountant, I was doing reporting and budgeting for the LNG, liquefied neutral LNG, the gas, yeah, for global business. What do? We manage the cost. We have to report to the bosses about the cost, and we have to challenge the engineers that, guys, come on, why are you spending so much? Yeah. So coming back to the point just now, being technical is one thing, but having that leadership, that soft skill is equally important, because I've seen people, and I'm sure there's statistics that shows, you can have A straight in your CGPAs and your accounts and etc. But if you're not able to speak up, you're not able to defend. Imagine you have to tell the boss, look, the sales guys are not doing their job properly. They're not selling the things. Our profit is going down the road. If you're not the one who have that guts to be able to speak up and tell and share, who will? So I just want to reinforce again, there's a lot of opportunities, but it goes back to you. And this is where, in the university, where you should grab that opportunity for you to develop those skills.
Thank you. That's a very important point out there for you all to note. Having heard everybody, having the technical skills is just one end of the bargain. What they're trying to say is you need to be a well-rounded accountant. A well-rounded, not an accountant, but a well-rounded person. Communication does not mean you need to speak English excellently and fluently. It's about being able to know what you have here, make that other person on the other side understand that. And in an organization, your role and your responsibility is for you to define, not for someone else to define. you can challenge. I mean, the Titanic example, of course, doesn't go according to his villain example of a movie, is a brilliant thing. You know the ship is going to hit the iceberg, but what do? File a report, go home lah. Worry about it after it hits. Not my fault. And that kind of an attitude is what we need to move with. I've got two questions that I'm going to ask one Haslan, and I'm going to go into another question with Encik Ahmad Feroz. But by the way, I'm not going to have Q&A at the end. After that question, I'm going to walk up to you all and ask Q&A and then continue the session Q&A in between. And I know the most favorite question all of you all have in your mind. Not what time this is ending. Your favorite question you have, what career advice would you give us? Yeah? How many of you have that question? Put your hand up. I am defeated in my purpose. One Hassan, I got two questions. One, Yasmin spoke about business partnering. What does business partnering mean to you? And what is your role of CFO? What does that mean? Because they aspire to be you one day, but it's good for them to see what that is. So, business partnering, what does business partnering mean for you? And what is your role as a CFO?
And your second question, Venkat?
Your role as a CFO.
All right. First of all, before I answer that question, I just want to ask this question. Who wants to be rich? Raise your hands.
Career advice can't, rich can.
Who just want to work but do not want to be rich? Raise your hands. Okay, good. You and me are of the same mindset. All right. In order to be rich, all of you have learned taxation, right? Right? Okay. How do you plan your career using tax? Using your knowledge of taxation and to become rich? Anybody can answer that question? Okay, I'll start. I started my career by becoming an employee. As an employee, how much tax do I pay? 25% or 26%, right? That's the maximum. And then after becoming an employee, I become a partner in an accounting firm or a partner in a consulting firm. How much tax do I pay? Or how much tax does my firm pay? Still, quite similar to what I pay as an employee, right? Okay, then I progress to become the owner of a big company. What does a big company get? Tax incentives, right? You go to, let's say, the East Coast, you get the Eastern Corridor incentives. You go to Iskandar, Malaysia, you get the Iskandar, Malaysia incentives. With that incentives, you get a tax holiday for maybe 10 years, 20 years, right? So for that number of years, you don't pay tax. Your wealth immediately increases by how much? 25% per year because you don't pay those tax, right? So who again wanted to be rich just now? Almost everybody, right? Okay. And then after you become a big company, the final bit is you become a big investor. Anybody heard of Warren Buffett? Yes. Yep. How much tax does a big investor pay?